my friends. How to have a wise boundary. This is our topic for today, and it might be our topic for many days to come. I just came from a Women in Publishing Conference Summit online, and it was a challenge for me. It was one of the best summits I've ever attended. But let me just tell you that I really felt myself losing my boundary, like absorbing so much information. I could feel my body going this way and that way, my feet up off the ground, and getting really located in my mind space and my head. So, creating a wise boundary, as far as I'm concerned, and the only way I can sort all of this out is by coming from it rather than the top down, but from the bottom up. So, what is wisdom? Wisdom is about discriminating. It's about really listening deep inside, like breathing down in the body and finding our center, if you want to call it that. Like, what is before any identity? Like, I call myself, if it's an author, a therapist, a whatever kind of work it is that you do, a father, a mother, partner, all the different roles that we can play. Like those are the roles that we play, but they're not our identity. What is before that? And that has to do with our wisdom, our knowing, our intuition, our instinct. Like, where do we land inside of ourselves that tells us something that our heads cannot even come into contact with, that cannot be defined by knowledge, that you can't really take a how to course and come into your own wisdom. You can be informed in so many different ways. So I found this summit to be incredibly brilliant because I am an author and I wrote a book some years ago and I didn't have an online presence. I'm really very new to all of this, but I've become aware of some of the challenges to our mental health, to our happiness, to how we spend our time, as I'm sure all of you have. And this has to do with our habit body. So when we talk about how to have a wise boundary, or I'm at least talking about how do I come into this deep sense of knowing? How do I feel into my intuition, my instinct, in a way that aligns with my heart? And it keeps me grounded in my feet, in my body, so I can feel centered and here and like I have a sense of who I am, like what's important to me, what sustains me, what is relevant to me. And when we're out gathering and absorbing information through our heads, it also influences our habit body. And this is the problem with the social dilemma, is that it feeds upon our quick emotional fixes or lifts, like maybe dopamine or whatever else happens in the brain when you get a quick hit of something. It's like the addict. And then it infiltrates the habit body. So we know this. I have my phone right here. I have a new phone. It drives me nuts because I can't figure out which way to slide it. And I like my old phone much better because it was just simple. But now there's all of this slide, slide, slide. And in that, the body is becoming habituated to a particular motion. And so let's just expand upon that into all of the different habits that we can pick up through the social dilemma of this idea of connecting through online presence or online whatever. And there's value to it. Don't get me wrong on that. And this is where creating a wise boundary is super important because it involves our discrimination. So here's where kindness and softness comes in, because we have to understand that whenever we repeat something over and over again, it becomes part of our habit body. And it doesn't mean anything is wrong with us, we've done anything wrong, or, we need to go lock ourselves in a room without our phone, but that's not a bad idea. And yeah, it's like a really good idea actually to go on a retreat. I often do that where we have, put the cell phones aside and, start to feel what is it like so that those particular habits that might have been instilled into the body, don't get to act themselves out. Always in the beginning, when we're breaking a habit, it can be uncomfortable for a moment because certain part of the brain is used to that, like that hit of whatever it is, the like, the comment, the image. I don't know. I try to stay away from it, but I'm definitely there. I'm there, or I wouldn't be talking about this. So I was on this summit and I would hear all of these things that you need to be doing to build your platform, to launch your book, to, partner and connect. And I started to feel like, yeah, this is great. It makes really good sense to me. And I know parts, it's important. Your book is your hook. And so on and so forth. And all of these different presenters that were just wonderful. And there was one presenter in particular that quoted from Toni Morrison. I believe that's, yeah, and said, let me remember it. That something about it's not safe to challenge the status quo. And I heard that and I'm like, that's the tribe or the group or the message, the genre that I want to be part of. That's the one that I am part of. Like, what is it that challenges the status quo, even when it isn't safe? Like there can start to be this sense of comfort and safety in our habit bodies and what we learn from our heads. And where does that come from? From these structures that have been established for thousands and thousands of years, patriarchal structures, whatever you want to call it. That's not about a gender. But here, they're like, they're saying you need to do it this way. And there's a ranking system and like who's important and who's not, who the influencers are. And like for a very long time, our influencers and still are white men of privilege or women or whatever, white women who wear the pants, and might be doing it the same way that men taught us, and trained us to do it and suppressed what's organic and natural and instinctive and intuitive to us, So I feel kind of a little bit of a rebellion in myself, not necessarily a resistance, because I'm able to listen and take it in, but I'm not going to let it take me over. I don't want to be taken over by all of these ideas of what you need to do in order to have your message heard, your voice heard, to tell your story. Because it's true, there's nothing more painful than holding on to a story that needs to be told. A story that can influence others, that can support others, that can be an inspiration to others. And there are many of us who have these stories. But do we need to have all of these structures? Do we need to abide by the status quo to get in there? Yeah, that's the curiosity that I have. And at the same time, while more and more voices of minority voices that have been suppressed and have not been heard, as they're coming forward, then we're also starting to see these structures around us, patriarchal structures, crumble. So the status quo is being challenged. And some people are being like really outright dangerous. Like, I love it, and I want to connect with these kinds of people because it's super important right now in this day and age, and it has been for a very long time. So this is how we can use online presence, online platforms for the benefit of humanity. And how do we know if it is for the benefit of humanity? right? Well, from the bottom up, like, how does it feel in the body? Am I in my feet? Am I grounded? Am I able to stand like a tree? Feel my roots? Am I connected to nature? Am I connected to earth? Am I connected to the mother of us all? You know, that aspect of being that connects, the connectivity of consciousness. It isn't up here, you know, with the old idea of, um, you know, some kind of transcendence, some kind of God in the heavens that doesn't meet humanity. Well, we're not talking about that because that's very outdated, very, very outdated. We're talking about bottom up. What does it feel like in the belly? How does my gut feel about it? Does it connect to my heart? Does it empower my voice to express itself? Does it keep me in a space of openness where I can receive and hear what is important, what is nourishing, what sustains me? Yeah, so if we align here from the bottom up, then we're going to have discerning filters. You know, we can filter out the nonsense of what we don't really need to pay attention to. And we can have our, you know, this one precious life, you know, that is precious. And we have only so much time in a day that can attend to the needful, you know. And it brings up the question for me, so what is mine to do? That is another way to discern and to stay in our wisdom. And it's not a question that gets answered often overnight. It has to do with our dharma, the great work of our life. You know, what our birthright is, what we're here for. You know, it's like it's our deserving. And we all deserve, we all deserve, we all have a place where we're meant to be heard. We need to be heard. So I feel very strong about right now because I'm listening to many things around me. And just with this infiltration of all of this wonderful information, I have to really sort out and discern, you know, what parts of it do I really need to pay attention to. There was a certain point in the summit where I was like, whoa, I've been doing it all wrong. I just have to start all over, you know, from scratch because I didn't know any of these things. You know, I'm a full-time mom at home taking care of daughters that have had tremendous birth trauma from a negligent hospital intervention. And they're with me all the time. They're 26 years old. And yeah, talk about boundaries. I'm always sorting, you know, different people coming in as helpers. I'm grateful for that. I feel very honored to have wonderful support people around. But there's always this navigating of my home space, their home space, each individual within the space, listening for what do they need, and not losing attention to my own needs, my own self-care, so that I can be present in a way that is heartfelt and that is connected and embodied, you know, that it keeps me in my body, not like with my legs like noodles in my body, like all over the place. Like, yeah, I got to do this, I got to do that, which is what I felt like. And maybe there's still some of that that is just calming itself down, because I do recognize that many of these things, I guess, we need to do. But how do we do it in a way that is efficient and isn't soul sucking, you know, that isn't draining us of our vital life force, and that also doesn't water down our message and doesn't diffuse the sense of self that we are, doesn't like shapeshift us into being something that we're not. Because that in the end, at the end of the day, that's not gonna do it, you know. The acclamations, the achievements, the accomplishments, you know, the bestsellers or whatever, to have my name here, my name there. Yeah, wonderful. Good. Congratulations to all of those who've been able to do that. But, we don't want to do that and be uprooted from our sense of self, that sense of being home and remaining connected to what's really the most important thing, which each of us has to answer for ourselves. Nobody can tell us that. So I'm Prajna O'Hara, and this is my channel. And I, right now, feel like I have a lot to say about many things, but I wanted to try to just give a couple of nuggets there about how to have wise boundaries. And I think the underlying message is that we need to listen inside of ourselves from the bottom up. What feels right in our gut, in our intuition, in our instinct, and how does it align with our heart? And does it keep us in our feet in a sense of being embodied and not leaving to serve something that has nothing to do with us? Like that discerning process, that shifting through without shape shifting, without sacrificing what is vital to us. And that is our love, our presence, our deep knowing. So I hope that is helpful for you. And I would love to hear your comments because I'm in this exploration and I want to be in this exploration with you. Who knows where it's going to go, because now I have a whole toolkit of things that I could be doing. So maybe I'll be doing something differently online. I don't know. I have, first things first for me. I have a family first. I'm a woman first, and I want to stay embodied. Yeah. So lots of love to you, and listen inside of yourself for what is the most important thing, because that's where wisdom lives. Wisdom is inside. Knowledge we collect through the head. Yeah. And that's wonderful. We need that. But go from the bottom up, and how does it engage your heart? And then it's heart wisdom. Take good care.